And it's Paul doing some glazing for a change of John. Always try to remove John's sort of input into songs and say that he came up with it. Now he's kind of praising him. And look, to be fair, Stephen, this is a song that I can barely listen to now after watching the Anthology. Even though I tried to learn it and I forgot it again. It's really not that difficult a song. I think it's like 5-6 triplet chords and that's it. It's just the strumming that's really impressive. And look, for all we used to poke fun at John, his timing, he's a fucking rhythm guitarist and he had the worst timing in the history of any musician I've ever seen. His ability to play these really complex sort of rhythmic sections, unbelievable. Even you think of this boy as well.
She's a Woman.
She's a Woman. Yeah, I mean, that's... He loved that. He loved those sort of... I don't know what the fuck those chords are. Those kind of like big... I don't know what they are. I'm not clued up in theory. I have to get better at music theory. But yeah, he did that and he can't do that as well. Those big sort of stretchy chords. Yeah. Not stretchy for John because he was using a 3/4 length scale fucking Rickenbacker guitar. So very easy for him. He did continue into casinos, to be fair. But I digress, Stephen. He's out talking, Paul, about John's guitar part.
He's out and about.
Yes, he's out and about. On Les Beatles, All My Loving, and how it was a last-minute idea. I think that just, again, we were talking about Paul, and obviously his brilliance at playing instruments upside down and just taking up the bass guitar, not even touched it really, and they needed a bassist, so he decided, I'll do it. Then he goes on to become one of the greatest bassists in the history of music.
Yeah.
John here as well, I mean, it just shows you the brilliance. John's been criticised numerous times. I see this shot coming up on YouTube from time to time where he's asked about George as a guitarist and he says, yeah, he was all right. And then he goes on to speak about himself and people are like, yeah, it's all about John. He just loves talking about himself. But he's right in what he says. Give me anything. You can give me a fucking trumpet and I'll make it work.
Yeah.
You see this here in terms of last minute idea and it powers the whole song. That is the living, breathing soul of All My Loving, that rhythm guitar part. And it's good to see Paul coming out and giving him his flowers.
Yeah, he did the same. He did the same with another track. What's the one? The down, 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 down. Blank on the name.
Down, 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 and I love her.
And I love her.
I said I love her as well. Doubted myself.
I think it might have perhaps been in the Scorsese documentary on Harrison. I think that's where Paul told the story of that.
Yeah.
He came up with a little riff as well that just made the song. And it's similar to the All My Loving, but I'm like you, John. It is a great song. It's a great track, and it's got Paul McCartney all over it in terms of lyrics and obviously the singing. But yeah, I mean, some of the standout moments are the guitar work as well. But it's one of those ones. When I first watched the Anthology, I think it was played on an episode 3 times.
Yeah.
And it was a live performance. I think there might have been some outtake ones as well. And I just, by the time I was done with that episode, I was like, I want to hear that song for a while, you know. So, but in terms of listening to it, you know, whether it be on the one album or no, was it on the one album? I don't think it was. It was on Past Masters. I can't remember. It was on a compilation. It might have been one of the red or the blue album or something. I can't remember. But it's the one I'll skip by because of that. You know, it's not because I hate it or anything. I've just overheard it.
Yeah.
It's like yesterday. I've heard it too often, you know.
You're having pot shots at Paul tonight. I'm trying to think of a John song that I've overheard. I can't think of any.
Yeah, I mean, God, All You Need Is Love, you know. It's just a song I don't listen to that often. I've heard it too often. I just kind of, when I'm on the Magical Mystery Tour, I kind of just, next one. Baby You're a Rich Man, yes, that'll do. I love
Baby You're a Rich Man. I love that song, everything about that. Just interesting melody.
All My Loving was the song that was playing in the Roosevelt Hospital. It was a Muzak version of it when John was pronounced dead.
Oh, right, oh shit, I'm laughing. God, yeah. So just when you said Muzak, my mind went to John having pot shots at Paul. The sound you make is Muzak to my ears. So I thought that was a little
Yeah.
thing. Well, that's kind of, yeah. Stephen, there's a whole lot of stuff like that surrounding sort of John when he passed him. And I always look at Paul when he get interviewed coming out the sort of recording studio, and he said it's a drag. I think he said, no, is it a drag? He said
Dragging it?
something like that. I think he did say it's a drag, but he said something else, and I was listening. I think it was maybe P.S. I Love You, and there was some line in it, and I'm like, that fucking lines up with what he said. I wouldn't put it past Paul being that deep that he's actually been listening to that, and he's referenced it because it kind of fit with the mood and kind of saying goodbye.
Just the wrong time though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was more. If it was personal, then it probably should have been kept personal because it didn't come over well at the time, you know. And
But Stephen, again,
I don't really, John. You know, I'm not one of these ones that tries to find something on one of the guys, you know, like they do with John. You know, if Paul said that and it was wrong at the time, I felt just the way it came out more than anything. But that guy was in shock.
Yeah, you could see it in his face.
It looked like he'd been crying. I don't hold that against him. That quote, it's been held against him for the past 45 years. You know, certainly watching that, you'd understand that he's not functioning. He's just not functioning. You know,
Wasn't P.S. I Love You, by the way. It was another one. I need to go back and listen to it. I'm not going to get it just now. But no, Stephen, he was out, obviously, and he's full of praise. He also says it's a damn good piece of work, but I play a pretty mean guitar. But this is fucking Lennon. Interesting, Lennon sniffing his own farts. I want to see what Paul was saying. The thing that strikes me about the All My Loving recording is John's guitar part. He's playing the chords as triplets, which was something George enjoyed as well. He liked a good triplet, and sort of in that realm. I mean, I always play Devil in Our Heart, and he loves that little window. And he done it with Please Please Me, and there's another one he done it with. He loved the little triplets. So that's something that was part of the sort of Beatles DNA in the early days. And I'm always fascinated. I could go down a fucking rabbit hole with this shit as to how they came across this in the 60s and the 50s coming up, when you didn't have the internet, you didn't have access to this incredible resource of music, chords and theory. Just how to get the knowledge of these intricate little triplets and like chord shapes and shit like that. It's just, I mean, George was playing the most fucking ridiculous chords back then. Ridiculous. Yeah. And how he got this knowledge, I fucking have no idea. These were young guys. These guys were like 23 and 24 and 22 and 20. And ridiculous. They had fucking nothing else to do with their times, clearly. No internet, just play the guitar. That's how they get good.
Well, I mean, it's the passion, you know, and just the volume and the amount of input and learning and practice that these guys put in was phenomenal, John. And it pays off in life, you know, if you're good at it. Certainly with the writing as well. George obviously a bit of more of a late bloomer when it came to the writing, but he soon, you know, was up to that speed, you know, by the end of the Beatles. You know, and when you look at songs like Here Comes the Sun, I think it's the most played Beatles track on Spotify, which is incredible. It's a fantastic song, you know, but when you think of the back catalogue of the Beatles, you wouldn't necessarily think that would be even in the top three, but it's the number one most played. Something speaks for itself as well, you know, but yeah, I mean, this is the thing I love about the Beatles. I love just that input from all of them. It's great to see Paul acknowledging the input from John here. It is kind of throwing a bone a little, you know, that John doesn't need, you know, that kind of verification, if you like, from anyone, you know, we know. You know, and it's the same with Paul. I don't get the whole, I wrote this bit, I did this, but he doesn't have to do that. We know what you did, mate. You know, you're probably the most talented multi-musicianist out over the past maybe 200 years or whatever. I don't know, could be longer. But just, I don't get the whole, all artists do this to an extent though. They all kind of nitpick and say, I wrote this bit, I wrote that bit. John did it as well in the 70s, you know, in certain interviews where he mentioned the bits that he did as well, and it kind of bugs me when you do that.
Stephen, everybody's aware that it was a very fluid process the writing of the songs, they were nitpicking off each other, and not nitpicking, but they were picking each other's brains. And the way that you've seen it, and to an extent with the Get Back sessions, even though they were more fractured at that point, you'd have seen it even more in the earlier days, mid-60s, early 60s, where they're bouncing off each other and brainstorming these guitar parts and whatnot, and just the melodies and putting the song together. Yeah. It was very fluid, and they all had their part to play. That's why I loved seeing George coming in and helping Ringo with Octopus's Garden.
Yeah, that was great. I was going to say the Get Back stuff was fascinating for that, because George came in with, I think he was talking about something, wasn't he? Tracks Me Like a Cauliflower or whatever it was. But there's a moment in it when they're doing the All Things Must Pass, and I think the lyrics he originally wrote was, a wind can blow those minds away. And John, I don't know if he misread it or not, he thought the word wind said mind, but it worked better. Yeah. It's little things like that that just change the sort of way you look at a song. You know, a mind can blow those clouds away. You know, I think it sounds better. It was a happy accident perhaps, but that's what that's what happens when you get these four guys in a room.
And it's what happened on this song as well, Stephen, because it does, as Paul says, it gives the whole song momentum. It transforms the whole feel of the song. That rhythm constantly piercing through, and like you said, it's almost like a car, the sound of a car travelling along the motorway. And what he says, obviously, it illustrates how quickly things were moving, because that song really did help power them, along with other ones over in America when they were touring. That was one of the sort of mainstays in the first tour.
Was that the first song they did on Ed Sullivan? I can't remember.
I know they did This Boy.
Yeah.
I don't know, Stephen. I'd have to check it. Try to listen.
I'm not really sure.
You know what? I'll bring that up just now. I'll go to Jules' screen. I'll try and find it, because my time's horrendous. Beatles.
Also, I sent you a photograph across as well. It took place just as we were talking about, obviously, Paul.
All My Lovin', Stephen, opening song.
Yeah.
Till There Was You, She Loves You. I saw her standing there, I want to hold your hand. When did they do This Boy then? That must have been the following year.
Well, they were on Sullivan a few times, weren't they? So, yeah. But, no, I mean, even that, you know, that's the first song that, you know, obviously in America they would have heard the songs with the American albums, you know, but this is the first time they would have saw them live.
Oh, they did do This Boy. It was She Loves You, This Boy, All My Loving. I saw her standing there, From Me to You, I Want to Hold Your Hand. That was the first show.
So, I mean, at that point, you're thinking 1964, the Beatles have already maybe got 2 or 3 albums in their back catalogue at this point.
Yeah.
So, you know, picking that song, All My Loving, is one of the 4 or 5 songs that they did that night. Shows how high in regard they valued that song, you know, and it's part of their repertoire at that time as well. And it is a great song, John. It is. There's no doubt about it. I have overheard it, but you can't take anything away from the quality of the song, the structure of the song, the pacing of the song, and the words as well. The lyrics are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I'm just reading this here, obviously, what you sent over. Obviously, I'm breaking down why. What happened, we heard the news that morning, the strange one off all of us. 3 Beatles.
This is the thing I'm talking about. Yeah. Look at that. Linda McCartney took this photo, John.
Yeah, it's a great photo.
The day after John died.
You can see in his face, Stephen, that he's still in a state of shock. You can see, I mean, it's black and white, but you can see that he's got it's almost like a ghostly white. He's in a state of shock. You can see. Look at his eyes.
Yep.
Has to be expected. It's a human response. Certainly if you lose anyone close to you, but a guy, it's almost like a brother who was so important when obviously Paul and John's life as well, and catapulting them to this stardom and shaped his entire life to what it is now. I'm not saying he wouldn't have made something of himself on his own, because he's an incredibly talented guy. But without the other 3, and certainly John, early doors, getting into the entire Beatles sort of catalogue, those 2 guys were just forces of nature. So when you lose someone like that in your life, regardless of where the relationship was, and by all accounts they did make up, also it's going to impact you. But he says also it's a drag. It's a drag, matter of fact. Stephen, he's always used that kind of language though, Paul. So when I first seen that, I never thought anything of that. I thought that was just a guy that was in shock. He'd been in his own mind in a studio all day, trying to get away from it. Then he's getting cameras and microphones thrust in his face.
I think for someone that's so articulated in writing in terms of poetry and lyrics and songwriting and how to present, that art, I think when it comes to personal things, Paul is a little bit more on edge. I think he's more conscious of what he's got to say, and I think he's always thinking before he opens his mouth. Total opposite of John, but I think when I don't want to mention the guy's name or took Lennon's life. I don't believe in giving the guy a minute of my time, but Paul and his way of hating on this guy, called him the jerk of all jerks. Now that's putting it mildly, calling him that. But this is what I'm saying. I don't think Paul's very good at that. I don't think he's very good at articulating his true feelings publicly.
Yeah.
And he has admitted, at times that he said that, that he's just not that type of person. He puts a brave face on things at times. He actually did a song called My Brave Face, didn't he? But I mean, I don't hold anything against him for that, and it's funny because there was a period in the 1970s where he didn't want to talk about the Beatles. He didn't want to talk about the business stuff. Perhaps maybe he just couldn't talk about it. But, over the last 30 odd years since the Anthology, he's embraced it more, and obviously his relations with George get better. Obviously he's always had that relationship with Ringo, and he's openly spoke about Yoko Ono, as well, on different things as well, that it's not as bad as some people make out it is. And it's just good to see that he's embracing, and again, in this article, he's doing it again, in terms of that song, because I've always regarded it as a Paul song. It's very much a Paul McCartney song, but that's nothing to take away from the musicianship of the song as well, how it's crafted, and that's kind of just the sort of cherry on top, that guitar piece from John. And that's what I loved about the Beatles. As much as
what you think
this was my Lennon track. What was it? The Strawberry Fields Forever, the Mellotron. Yeah. That's Paul.
Yeah.
That front bit on the intro. It's just things like that. It's little things that they just add to each other's songs.
Piano at the start of Obody Obada.
Yeah.
There's so many moments where they both, and the four Beatles, to be fair, add something. Just sprinkle a little bit of magic. George with his little noodles at times. Is that the right word? Doodles, noodles. I don't know, guitar, doodling.
Noodles, yeah.
They're going nowhere. But in the context of the song, I mean, you could admit them and it wouldn't change the song, but when you add them in, it just adds depth and something in there, sonically.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. Stephen, I brought Misery up because that was the song I was thinking of from Please Please Me.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of guy who never used to cry. The world was treating me bad, Misery. I'll remember, what is it? I've lost her now for sure. I won't see her no more. It's going to be a drag, Misery. That's what I was thinking about. I mind listening to that. I'm like, you know what? Wouldn't surprise me if he's went back down memory lane, listening to all the Beatles stuff, John stuff, and he's listening to that, and that's what it's maybe stuck in his head, drag, because it's going to be a drag, Misery, and the title of the song's fucking Misery. He's singing about losing someone that's important to him.
That would make sense. I think you're right. I think that makes sense.
In fact, there's John singing it as well.
Say, in that sort of interview with the cameras and the microphones in his face, I've just been listening to stuff today. I wasn't recording. So that's right. It could have been that he was listening to some of the old stuff. There's an episode, John, of Desert Island Discs. That just reminded me. You've probably seen it, where he picks certain songs, and he picked "Beautiful Boy" from the Double Fantasy.
What video?
The cameras are on, and you can see he's choking up. He has to turn away from the camera.
Yeah.
At one point. So the love was there.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely was. It still is.
Stephen, one place the love wasn't